Well, a year into the pandemic, many of us may feel like you're just hitting a wall.
The pandemic wall. So what is it and what can we do?
This is actually a real thing, okay? Dr. Laura Saunders from the Institute of Living is here to talk about it. And you're calling it the pandemic wall, but this is something you're really seeing that's affecting people psychologically, right?
So, yes, and honestly, this kind of started with hearing my son who's in college and a bunch of nephews who are in college talking about, like, hitting a wall. Like, they're just done. They're done with all of the, okay, now we're back in remote learning. Okay, now we're back in. I mean, it's hitting people across all ages. But basically, this pandemic wall is cognitive and emotional overload. It means we have taken in enough sort of information and emotional stuff, and we just hit a wall. We can't process anymore. People feel frustrated all the time, and I'm really most worried about children. Really, a lot of our college kids as well, because the college kids have lost their spring break, and I understand colleges are doing it for safety reasons, but it means that these kids get no break. They get no release, and without that, their frustration just builds and builds and builds.
Yeah, Kara and I talk about this a lot. Our kids are very similar in age. I've got a high schooler and an elementary school, and my high schooler was very frustrated. I think the weekends are really hard because the week is kind of structured, whether you're in remote school or regular school or activities that you may be in. But then the weekends, which would normally be filled with birthday parties or, pizza parties or just things to look forward to, they're just still not back yet.
Right. I mean, we as adults have the ability to kind of look at time in a more linear way. Children and adolescents and our young adults really look at time based on events. What's the next holiday? And, then the weekend's coming up, and then I have this event, and then, oh, wait, my days are marked by this amount of time in school. And now schools are usually like half days when you're remote versus, going to practice or going to dance or going to whatever your activity is. And really, they've lost all of that. So they're in this kind of pandemic wall. They've lost a lot of the markers that help them understand and organize their emotional well-being and time, and it's making it really hard. So we have to start thinking about what can we do to get to the other side. I think we are on the other side. There's a little bit more hope. I mean, Melissa, as you said, right, we're getting near looking at that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Yeah. But we have to acknowledge that this is a real and true wall that people are hitting.
Right, and I love how you say that acknowledging is actually, that's part of the therapy. Just let people, this is not, I understand, and this is not normal. What about now that you're actually recommending for the kids' mental health, you want to see kids go back to school now that the vaccines are ticking up?
Yep. Now that vaccines are ticking up, our overall rates are staying low. Our teachers, who really need to be prioritized, and I'm so happy that this state has done that. Our teachers are starting to get vaccinated, and we really need to prioritize our teachers. It's my hope that we get kids back into school, following the guidelines, wearing masks, some social distancing, but getting kids back into school, getting that routine back for them. It is absolutely critical for their emotional and mental and physical well-being.
Now, we don't have much time left, but real quick, what can we as parents say to our children if they come to us, having all these feelings of this wall?
So acknowledge it, identify it for them, right? That's what I did for several of my nephews this weekend. Let's talk about what it's like to hit this wall. It's okay to reminisce about how life was before COVID, because the hope is that we're getting back there soon. So last week I talked about hope. We're trying to instill more hope in our young people. Get outside as much as possible when it's nice, and reduce stimulation with screens and whatnot, because that really adds to a lot of cognitive overload.
Okay. Thank you, Doctor. Good advice. I'm going to have my kids listen, too, especially with the screen part, because I know they think that's a solution, is just to scroll sometimes.
I think it makes everything so much worse. All right. Thank you so much, Doctor. We've got a lot more coming up today.